Okay, Harry Waldman is back with us. We talked to him about 2.5 years ago. I can't believe it's been 2.5 years. You were with your film Enter the Room. Now you have another film, Bay for Blood, that did very well in the festival circuit the last couple of years. So, do you like three-word titles? Is that what's happening? Do you have a theme?
I definitely I like that you pointed that out. It definitely happened with my first few short films. I've gone down to one word now for my some of my just upcoming projects. It's I figure to just keep it cleaner and shorter with one. But yeah, for whatever reason, the first three professional short films I made all have three words in the title.
And home is a theme of yours as well. You're always setting in a home.
Yeah, I would say it probably started with just, trying to fit within a certain budget. It,
Sure.
it was, yeah, Enter the Room actually was shot in the same apartment. It's changed a little. I put up some posters. It's not quite as plain looking.
Yeah.
And Babe for Blood, my production manager was nice enough to let us shoot at his apartment. So I'd say that was a part of it, but also just, as your festival saw with those two films, I tend to focus a lot on my characters. There's definitely a psychological aspect to a lot of the films I make. So I figure, yeah, why not put them kind of in an enclosed, tight setting to just sort of give that claustrophobic feel and build tension overall.
And in both films are about like issues with men issues, I guess, right? Like learning
Yeah,
learning how to communicate and getting along with each other.
yeah, definitely. The characters, while more extreme, loosely based on some certain parts of myself that I'm not as proud of, but also other individuals I've met throughout my life. I think I probably mentioned in the previous interview regarding Enter the Room, that relationship was loosely based on a rough relationship I had with a roommate in college,
Yeah.
whereas Bay for Blood was more based on this toxic relationship I actually had with this guy in high school who I thought we were good friends. I later learned that that was not so much the case. He was very nice to my face, sometimes not so much. So yeah, definitely, both based on kind of rough relationships I had with other individuals that I met throughout the years.
And this is very like a lot of people deal with this, right? Like about like friendships. Like they teach you a lot, or maybe they don't, but they're supposed to teach you a lot in school, and but they don't teach you how to communicate in dealing with friendship, which I think is like you see that like I think you hit it on when, especially in your 20s and you're in your 30s and you're trying to figure out who you are, and you got these toxic people around you. And like you said, they're not your friend. You think they're your friend, but they're really not, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, like you said, it's I mean, I had plenty of great teachers in school, learned a lot, but like you said, it's one thing, to learn theory in school, but then when you actually go out there in the real world, and it can be especially tough because with the roommate, in my freshman year of college, we were forced to live with
Yeah,
each other
you
for
didn't choose that. Yeah, yeah.
right, for a little over a semester. So once he moved out, it was kind of over. I mean, I'm not going to go as far as to say we liked each other, but we barely ever had to deal with each other. We
Sure.
we had a couple of times where we saw each other in the hall and just went our separate ways. Whereas I think with this relationship that regarding Bay for Blood, this was somebody who I was friends with for a number of years, and it was trickier, just because, yeah, the roommate, it's like we knew we didn't like each other. We tried to stay away from each other even when we roomed together. This guy, yeah, I mean, I met him early in middle school and we were friends through most of high school, friends in air
Yeah.
quotation marks. But yeah, it was very confusing for me because there definitely were lots of times I thought, oh yeah, this guy's really looking out for me. He's a good friend of mine, and then I would hear other friends tell me things that he had said or done to me or about me that were not so flattering. He was definitely a smooth talker, and he knew kind of when he messed up to try to smooth things over with me. So it was this long, kind of tricky and toxic relationship that, yeah. And I just felt, I'd known him for so long. I'll ride it out until finally in college when I kind of just said enough was enough.
So this film has done well for you on the festival circuit.
Yeah, it's Yeah, it's been great. I know I'd kind of mentioned with Enter the Room because when you first interviewed me, I was brand new to the festivals. I mean, it had gotten to some right off the bat. I've, as someone who's done it a lot more now, mostly positive experiences. There definitely, I've mentioned to a few other filmmakers, there definitely are some kind of shady scam festivals out there that you need to be careful about. But for the most part, particularly the festivals that hold in-person events.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been to lots of great ones. I've been to ones that maybe were a little newer and weren't as great, but I could see how much effort they were putting into and how much work it is. And that's where I kind of initially thought, oh, I'd love to run a festival. But after seeing how much work it is between, between my editing job and just doing all the filmmaking, it's like, yeah, I would never be able to sleep. But no, yeah, the festival experience, it's been great. It definitely is a little pricey for sure, but
Yeah.
I'm really happy to have done it over the last few years. And while my festival runs, Enter the Room, is just about finished. Bay for Blood starting to wind down now too. Probably or by the end of the year, I should pretty much be done, and then kind of be back onto the filmmaking side of things. But yeah, with the festivals overall, it's been very positive for me. I've met a lot of awesome filmmakers, a lot of awesome people who run festivals. I've loved dealing with your festival personally. So yeah, once I make a couple of other films and have one or two of those complete, I'll be excited to run the festival circuit again in the future for sure.
So you said you work as an editor? That's your day job?
Yeah, so I do mostly. It's kind of been on and off. Right now, I'm freelance video editing. I have had I'd had a full time job for a while doing post production for a wedding company. So yeah, I mean, in addition to working on my own projects, I've mostly edited and reviewed weddings, but I've sort of dabbled. I've done a music video here or there, some
Yeah.
random eating challenges, and all other sorts of
Yeah.
videos. But yeah, I mean, I love editing. It's I might have mentioned in the last interview, it's my favorite part of the filmmaking process. It definitely can be tedious at times, and if I sit down and edit all day, I definitely am a little burnt out at the end of the day, but it's something I really enjoy doing and something I expect to keep doing for a long time.
All right, so let's talk about this film. So you said your production manager gave you the location. And so basically tell me about the three actors, the two guys obviously and the girl. Where did you find them?
Yeah, so I found them all through Backstage and Breakdown Express, or for Actors Access. They are, I would say, I found good actors and actresses from all over the place, even in Facebook groups. But I'd say these are the two websites I trust the most. I would say I don't have an exact number, but since I've been casting for films, I'd say like 75 to 80% of the actors and actresses I've ended up casting were through Backstage or Breakdown Express. So yeah, I believe Jasper, the one who played Rob, he was through Backstage, and then Dave and Issa, Dave who played James and Issa who played Jessica, they were both through Breakdown Express. And yeah, actually, Jasper and Issa I had never met before. They were both phenomenal. I especially knew with Jasper. His initial audition was about as intense as any I've ever seen, and while we do one callback to make sure to have the actors and actresses read with each other, I
Yeah.
remember thinking like, yeah, this guy's perfect for Rob. As for Dave, I actually had met him before. I had a previous short film in the backseat, which that one had a shorter festival run. I wasn't submitting that to fest as long, but just kind of a funny, silly, dark comedy, not quite as psychological as Enter the Room and Bay for Blood. But anyway, so I'd actually initially cast him for a role that was very different from James in the backseat. He unfortunately ended up having to drop out. He had had something come up at the last minute, but I had already considered him for the role of James just based on what I had seen. And when he posted for Bay for Blood, well, I'm never going to hand a role to anyone. I thought, okay, good. As long as this guy is as good as I remember, he'll be perfect for James. And he didn't disappoint from there. So, yeah, I mean, I think especially with, you know, the kinds of shorts I make that are very character focused and are in more confined settings overall, the cast is so important. And I thought, not to compare through all my films. For the most part, I've been really happy with my actors and actresses, but collectively, this Bay for Blood cast might arguably be my favorite. I was really happy with all three performances. So yeah.
So how long was the shoot?
So the shoot was 4 days. It was spread out. over, I believe, about a month. It was of course I made the mistake, and so I grew up in the New Jersey area near New York City, and I had always thought before I moved out to Chicago, oh yeah, the weather's similar. It's definitely colder in Chicago. So like in usually in Jersey where I grew up, by the time April comes along, it starts getting nice out.
Yeah.
So we shot this film in April, and it was okay inside, but of course later in the film when there's more stuff going on outside, there was a day in late April where it was like 30 degrees out. So that was the most unpleasant part of the shoot. But aside from that, it went very smoothly. Yeah, I mean, we had the one rough day outside where we probably went an hour and a half over, but we finished on time or early the other 3 days, and the other 3 days we were mostly in the apartment.
Yeah.
The guy who let us shoot it there, he was awesome. His roommates actually would just go out during the shoot, so we didn't have any noise issues really. There was actually one on our third day. There was a little bit of a day party going on above us. It wasn't anything crazy, but there was a little bit of music going on, but we were mostly able to navigate through it. So yeah, overall 4 day shoot, pretty painless aside from the outside stuff, which was a bit cold, but yeah, I was happy with how it went.
So do you like so when you're in like you said you obviously you edited the film, you're an editor. Do you like do the sound as well? The sound design as well?
Yeah, so basically for the sound design, what I had done, and it's something as you know, as I've made more films that I'm probably going to shift. While I have been happy, especially with the reception for this film, because for Enter the Room, people mostly would talk about the script, the acting, the twist, which that all made sense. And I did receive plenty of compliments on the acting for this, but actually I started to notice at festivals a few times with nominations, people mentioned the score in this film. And actually, what I had just done for Enter the Room, this film, and another short in the backseat that I had made was I was just using royalty-free music. It was again being within a limited budget,
Sure.
just trying to navigate that. I spent a lot of time. I mostly used Free Music Archive, but yeah, many countless hours going through. The artists on there are really cool. Pretty much all of them I've reached out to have been, very professional and very agreeable, just with allowing me to use their songs in my films.
Yeah.
And it's definitely been more cost effective. The tough thing, because there's just an endless amount of songs, is I could listen to 150 songs in a row before finding one that I like.
Yeah.
So it was taking so much time that I've decided for my feature film, which I think I mentioned in the last interview, the Corridor Crossing. That one I'm just going to hire a composer, and I think moving forward, as long as the budget allows it, I'll probably go with a composer just not only to save time, but the royalty-free music. There is some good stuff out there, but based on some of the stuff I've heard from some composers I've been in contact with, I definitely think I can get higher quality music. So
Oh
I'm probably
yeah.
going to
And
go for
it's
it.
a creative you can do the creative process as well, right? Like you could really talk like go through the music and thematically you can get the exactly what you're looking for too, right?
Exactly, as opposed to royalty-free music where it's like, these artists, I'm not reaching out and asking. I'm just like, hey, this song's cool. I think this will
Yeah.
work. Would that be okay if I use? Whereas with a composer, it would be nice to already have a temp soundtrack down and say, hey, this is what I'm looking for, and
Yeah.
then we collaborate and work together from there.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah. So you're like so do you like doing sound design? Is that something you like doing?
It's so I mentioned editing being my favorite part of the
Yeah.
process. I actually think my favorite part of the editing process,
Oh,
while it can be so much fun watching the actors go back and forth, yeah, mixing in the music, especially in the beginning, it is I'm someone who's always loved music. I don't have the deepest knowledge of music. I have some friends where it's just like it's never ending with them.
yeah.
But I really think in some ways the music can be the lifeblood of the film. I mean, it depends, of course. I definitely think in Enter the Room, it wasn't. It was really about the actors. But yeah, it's something I have so much fun doing. I think it's something that I've grown to understand pretty well. So yeah, it's a lot of fun, and I think especially for my films and moving forward, it's an important part of the process for sure.
Okay, so just out of curiosity, you said you're from the New York area. What brought you to Chicago?
Yeah, so it was a number of things. It was, well, one, cost of living in New York City, absolutely outrageous. It's only gotten way crazier. Um, Two was that I love that area. Like New York City's a blast. I mean, Manhattan, Brooklyn, Queens, etc. I had a lot of friends, in the area too, who I've stayed in touch with some of them, but lost touch with others since I moved out here. But it was just wanting a change in scenery, would be number two. And number three was that so ever since when I was little, my mom, a lot of her family lives out in this area. A couple of her sisters, they live out in the suburbs near the city, and then she has a couple other sisters who live in Wisconsin, and they're all very close. So they see each other a lot. I see them pretty regularly. So we would come out here twice a year. So I was already very familiar with Chicago and the surrounding neighborhoods. And actually, one of my good friends who still lives out here, he went to Loyola, which is actually pretty close to where I live right now.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was after college. I was working in downtown Manhattan. I couldn't afford to live anywhere close to there. And I had other friends living out there, but were paying these outrageous prices for apartments that are like the size of a closet.
Yeah.
um, so that mixed with my friend already, and some of his friends who went to Loyola, who I still stay in contact with. I'm actually one who lives right by me, who I see a lot of times for football on Sundays. Anyway, so yeah, it was kind of a mix of those things. I think the final straw was when I was talking about it with him. I was saying it's frustrating. I can't afford to live in Manhattan, even though, I work there. And he mentioned Chicago. He mentioned well, I wouldn't say it's cheap to live out here. I'd say the cost of living is much more reasonable than the New York City area.
Sure.
So yeah, it was that and my mom's whole family being out here that, made me decide, yeah, why not come out here? And it's been great. It's the weather's a bit rough. It's still kind of actually, I haven't gone outside yet today. I'm going to be going out after this interview. Um, but even over the weekend, it was still like in the 40s. So I'm hoping once June rolls around, it finally gets warm in Chicago. Aside from that, I have no complaints.
Yeah.
It's an awesome city.
The
The
su
people,
the summers are awfully hot in Chicago. They get
yeah,
really hot.
it is interesting how it just quickly goes from being 40 to all of a sudden being
Yeah.
outrageous. But I'm looking forward to that.
So you said that you like you meet for football. Did you become a Bears fan since you came to Chicago?
So the Jets are my team, which is incredibly painful.
Yeah.
I'm also though because my mom, all her sisters, because they grew up in Wisconsin, they're all actually pretty big Packer fans.
Oh,
So I kind
really?
of keep it to myself. I don't have anything against the Bears, but interestingly enough, a lot of my friends out here, it's we mostly, my friend and I mentioned, we bond over fantasy football. So he's a Bears fan, but like he doesn't even talk about the Bears much. I mean, we'll see. Maybe they'll be good this year. I've been hearing that since I've been out here. So most of the conversations I have with my friends are actually about fantasy football. And yeah, even though I'm a Jets fan, I almost never have Jets on my team just because they're not so good in fantasy.
So I'm a big football. I'm from Buffalo area, so I'm a
Oh,
gigantic
nice.
Bills fan. So we've had some fun with your team in the last like 5 years.
Yeah,
Uh,
well, at least I had James Cook last year in fantasy. That was a
okay.
lot of fun. He was
Yeah.
scoring like at least a touchdown every game, but
I've never done fantasy in my life. I've never done it. I
it
I
is it's scary how addicting it is. And
I believe it. Yeah.
it's also scary how like I'll have James Cook go off against the Jets, and it's like I'm supposed to be rooting for the Jets, but I'm just so
That's the
excited.
problem.
Yeah,
I bleed Buffalo Bills. Like I that's
yeah,
my team, right? So I can never I would just if I would do it, I'd just pick all Bills, right? So I'm like,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. No, it definitely messes with the purity of the game. So I respect that you haven't, because if you dive in, you might find yourself rooting for someone against the Bills. So maybe it's better to just not even jump into it. But
Yeah,
it's
and plus
yeah,
I used to have a heavy like I haven't gambled in 20 years, but I used to gamble a lot, and it looks like the same as gambling. So yeah, I have to stay away from it.
absolutely makes sense.
So okay, so you're working on your feature film right now. So you're in post-production?
Yeah, I might have actually mentioned it. It's so with the well, first off, I think like many other filmmakers, I tend to be pretty anal and tedious with my vision. So the projects usually finish later than I want them to. I especially knew with this feature though. I have been making a lot of changes to it since I've shot it. it was initially almost 2 hours and 10 minutes. It's down to about 89 now. It
Okay.
is, it's been a little painful to do it, but I think the film's much better. I thought the film was way too long before. Um, it's pretty tight now. And I'm working with this other filmmaker who I met at this festival in Oklahoma a couple months ago. And he's older and has a lot more experience than me. He's been super helpful. So I may even continue to cut it down into the mid or even low 80s. I mean, I'm happy with it at 90, but he's just given me a lot of cool tips and tricks, things that I didn't realize because he edits for a living too. And as I'd mentioned, I think he's been doing it for a few decades. So he definitely knows a lot. But yeah, so I've been cutting that down longer than I thought. Color correction's pretty close to being done. I keep putting off hiring the composer. I
Uh,
should do that soon, but I actually have another feature film called Incautious, and that one we will see. I'm getting pretty happy with how the script is. It probably still needs to be shaved a bit, but I'm hoping to get that one into production in September. So, assuming that over the next few months have everything good to go, once I get that into production, I'm probably not going to have that much free time until later next summer.
yeah.
So the corridor crossing may get put a little on hold, but I'm hoping, assuming I get this next film into production, once that one's done, finally get the composer for corridor, cut it down a little more, and then just make some, final changes, fine tuning, and then hopefully have that one out to
Oh,
festivals
I can't
next
wait
year.
to see it. Because you're a very productive guy. Every time I'm on Instagram, I see you always pop up like you're always kind of promoting that you got an award or something happened. So you're a proficient person. You're always kind of on the go. You're always kind of on the ball. So, it's one of those things with if it's your first feature, it's like you got to let it go eventually, right? Like it's like
Definitely.
yeah, because it's and then so you can make another one, like you said, right? So
Yeah, no, it's yeah, I appreciate what you're saying. With social media, maybe to a fault. It's funny how before I started these festival runs,
yeah,
I never posted about any of my film stuff. And then I sort of learned the power of, yeah, if you have a couple thousand friends on Facebook or a couple thousand followers on Instagram, if you make one post, a lot of people are going to see it. And I tend to, once I see something work, I go kind of all out. So yeah, usually every morning, like early, late morning, maybe early afternoon, I try to, I'll go through all the social media handles. I'll find, the whichever fest I want to post about and, take 15 or 20 minutes and, just do that. And yeah, I try to stay active. I generally, unless I'm having, excuse me, a break on a Saturday or a Sunday where maybe I'm going out with friends or just watching TV, I usually get up, start working, and then, once I have a little bit of free time, I'll just start getting on the film train. And yeah, there's definitely, I went through periods when I was younger where I felt kind of bored and lost. It's kind of the opposite now where I feel like I never have enough time, but I like it. I like keeping busy. It's more fun this way. It's more active and yeah, it's what I prefer.
all right. So you're on your way. So before we leave you, going back to your blog interview, you mentioned that always ask you the question, what film you've seen the most times in your life. Do you remember what you said?
I believe I said Memento last time.
Yeah.
I could go through Memento again, or if you want me to name, I could name another movie I've watched an absurd amount of times too. If
What's that?
either one. I think I would go with Lord of the Rings: Return of the King is one. Even though it's like 4 hours, but
Yeah.
it's actually been maybe like a month and a half since I've watched it. Which I know some, it depends on the person. I rarely revisit stuff. I just have too many movies to watch.
Sure.
I've gotten
Yeah.
really into TV now. There's just so many good TV shows out these days. Um, but Lord of the Rings, the whole trilogy, but especially Return of the King, is one I can just keep revisiting. I think different from Memento in that they're both very epic and cathartic and ambitious in their own respects. But of course, Memento, lower budget film, early Chris Nolan, not as big on scale. Whereas Lord of the Rings, the epic battle for Middle Earth, that Return of the King especially. I think all three are great. But yeah, Return of the King is one where I just find myself being so moved. There's so many scenes in that film, and Sam, who I'm sure like many others, arguably my favorite character ever. just an awesome, sort of underdog, unsung hero. Watching him really come into his own, especially when he fights the big spider near the end, is just so incredibly satisfying for me. That's a film that I can watch it over and over. I mean, as I mentioned, just with everything else going on, I'm not always watching it, but I could probably watch it once a week and not get sick of it, which I can say that about very few films. Because even most of my favorite films, it's like if I watch them too often, I just find myself getting kind of bored and wanting to revisit new ones. But yeah, Lord of the Rings: Return of the King, it's as epic and as satisfying of a film as I've seen, and for what is probably my favorite trilogy ever in Lord of the
And
Rings.
which TV show are you watching right now?
So TV show, I was just binge watching The White Lotus. Actually, last weekend I was visiting my parents in Jersey. I actually had a film festival, which actually probably going to post about as soon as this meeting ends.
Yeah.
It was this solid, newer festival, but a pretty good turnout. Actually met a bunch of filmmakers who I'd met at another festival in Jersey, which was cool. Pretty well run festival, good movies. It's called America's Epic. It was in sort of the borderline edge of New Jersey and New York, so about a little over an hour drive from my parents. But yeah, I went back from Thursday to Monday, and we did the festival on Saturday, and then met my sister and her husband at a restaurant on Friday. And aside from that, I just watched a lot of White Lotus. I watched 15 episodes, or 13 episodes of my dad. Went through seasons 1 and season 2. Was absolutely hooked. Yeah, awesome show. Really interesting characters. I really like the style and the sort of pitch black humor they use with the writing. It really suits my style, and I'm really looking forward to watching season 3.
Well, so you haven't seen season three, but the music, man, look
Oh
what
yeah,
the music can do in a show, right?
yes. Actually, I'm really glad you brought that up
Yeah.
with both seasons, but I thought especially season 1 when they'd be jumping back and forth, between the newly married couple, the dysfunctional family, and then the hotel concierge, and there'd be all this tension building, and that music just made
Yeah.
it enhanced it that much, for sure. That was when we started watching it. My dad, was immediately bringing up the music, and he's like, "Oh yeah, you're gonna
Take
love
away
the."
the music, right? And it's like, is it still a great show? Maybe, but it shows you like how important the original score is, right?
Oh,
So
absolutely.
yeah,
I think that there are very few. I have seen some, especially lower budget films,
yeah.
where they can get away with two characters having a conversation and there not being music. But I feel like in most
It
situations,
depends on the story, right? Yeah,
and
yeah,
in most situations though, the music
yeah,
will at least enhance and will maybe make the film or TV show.
yeah.
And that's
But
where I mentioned
because
earlier.
it has that feel where it's like let's not take it let's not take this too seriously. Like you know what I
Right.
mean? Yeah. Like it's
Yeah. No.
there's a tone of satire, right, in the show, right? So like these rich white people, like with their problems, you know what I mean? Like, but then of course in the first season, the concierge, like you feel bad for the guy because he's the one who gets shit on, and like you know what I mean? Like not with I don't want to spoil anything, but like you know what I'm saying, right? Like it's like that, but then everybody else is like their first world problems, like whatever, you know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, the
Yeah,
hotel concierge. I loved watching all the characters.
yeah,
I had the most fun watching him. Just
yeah,
him with the, husband who's kind of a jerk. But
yeah.
yeah, yeah, absolutely though.
So try, yeah, the third season's pretty good. It's like I like it a lot. It really like creeps up on you and it has a really great ending to it. So
Good to
enjoy it.
know. I'll probably start it this week.
Yeah. All right, man. Let's talk again when your feature film's done. How's that?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, like I said, I'm not sure when, but when it's finished, your festival's been awesome. I'll definitely submit it here, and I hope to be able to
So
chat about it with you in
if
the
you want
future.
to talk to me again, you gotta finish your feature film. I don't know if that's motivation.
Oh, that's motivation for sure.
Okay. All right, man. Let's talk again soon.
All right, great.